What's going on, guys? It's David Piatek, and I have Paul here with vetmentorai.com. He has an amazing tool that helps veterans with their VA disability claim, leveraging AI. All of us are doing it right now, so it's time to jump on the bandwagon. I know we did a video not long ago. It was just like a couple months ago, actually, but they've done big updates to the site. And so we're going to cover three things, right? We're going to cover claim optimization. We're going to talk about Nexus letters, which I know is definitely a pain for a lot of people to get through, and excited to see what are some of the updates, and also understanding how to do a personal statement, right? So, Paul, you want to introduce yourself and the company, what you guys are doing, and
Yeah.
actually, you're a Marine Corps veteran as well.
Yep, Marine Corps veteran, and we're an AI company trying to fix the problem of veterans struggling to get their benefits, and it's possible to fix that with AI.
That is awesome. Yeah, and sometimes people don't want to talk to somebody, right? And
Yeah,
they're just like, "Hey, how do I go through this?" Or, sometimes someone may have a very personal situation that they want to, need some help with. They just don't want to go to their buddy or someone they know because they don't want them to know necessarily. So, let's go right into it so you can kind of share and everyone else can see what these changes are and what the company is doing.
yeah, I love it. And so we revamped, even from the last time, we're constantly growing, constantly changing. And so we took a lot of veterans' feedback and we revamped the entire user experience and even the entire site. We've got a new website, and we also are proud to announce that we actually have a 95% success rate. The AI
Wow.
is learning and it's actually getting better. And so when we originally did the video, it was 92%. Now we're up to 95%. And we've helped
Wow.
over 1,000 plus veterans. And so that's amazing. Another thing too is we offer a money back guarantee. If you don't get your claim, you don't pay a dime. And
Wow.
so there's hardly anybody doing that. If anybody, we couldn't find anybody. And that's how sure we are in the system. And we're just out for, to help the veterans. So yeah, this is our new site. I'd invite everybody to come and see it. We have an explainer video that goes into every single part of the tool. It goes through all of the different tools. We even have career suites, which I'm sure we'll do
Oh,
another
wow.
video at another time. The average veteran that uses the platform gains about $1,500 per month. And so to put that in scale, we have a one-time payment for a year that gets paid back basically in 3 days of benefits.
Wow.
And you can see, basically the average versus what Vet Mentor has seen so far. Our veterans are getting more and not having to pay back pay. And it's really amazing.
Yeah, that's a big
our-
piece to it too, right? Because sometimes
yeah.
you're giving up a pretty large portion of your piece.
Yeah, and so we have just a flat one-time fee of $150, and that's all you ever pay. And we've had veterans get $100,000 of back pay back, and they were just blown away. One of the news segments that was done about us was actually a veteran who got a huge chunk of back pay, and he was so blown away that we didn't want any of it.
That's
And yeah, I mean, it's just crazy because there's a lot of companies and lawyers that's how they're making their money. So we're just trying to help veterans. And so our claim success, so we have a 95% success rate total platform. But if you take our claim optimizer and get a score of an 8 or above, and I'm going to show the claim optimizer today on this video, then we have 100%. And that's over 180 veterans. And we have not had one denial yet. And so that's how accurate our model is. And so that's part of the reason why we're able to offer a money back guarantee is because we're pretty sure, you're going to get your claim. And so if you're interested in learning more about us, we have an entire media section. So the neat thing is when you're good people doing good things, the news outlets actually gravitate towards that, which we are so humbled and appreciative of. And so there's a whole bunch of news stories just on what we do. And and that's really the amazing.
That's awesome. Well, let's jump right into it to see I can tell there's a lot of updates to it already.
Oh yeah. So it's so we've revamped the entire user interface. And so we've made it a lot more intuitive. Our veterans users told us, hey, sometimes it was hard to navigate. We love that feedback, because what we did was we actually built the system now so that it walks you through tool by tool. So now it prompts you getting started, exactly what you need to do, what tools we have for the veteran benefits, even what tools we have for the career suites. And
Wow.
and so it's really amazing the feedback that we've gotten, because we've implemented it all. And so everyone's journey is going to start either at the virtual veterans officer, which is an avatar, which I'm sure could be another video, or the claim optimizer report. Now, what this report does is this is actually going to have you simulate filling out the va.gov. So it's very similar information. And then it uses a conglomerate of AI agents in the background to actually rank and grade your claim. So just live time, I'm going to fill this out with some just regular data. So you'll notice that the only PII, or personal identification information, that we take is your full name, email, and phone number. I basically only want the personal information that you put into Google anyway. And so that way it protects our veterans. It's going to ask if we're homeless. It's going to ask the branch of service. I love the Marines, Marine Corps vets. So proud there. But, we even have Army and all the branches.
Thank you for doing that. So gracious.
So, and then, so let's just say for this example, we served 7 years. We were a sergeant when we got out, and we got out as an honorable discharge. Let's say for this one, we did serve in Iraq. And again, this is for John Doe. Did we have a service-connected disability? So let's just say we had tinnitus already connected, which is so common because it's pretty easy to get tinnitus. We're going to say no to the toxic exposures and no to serving under a different name. So now
if you, does the system know, like if you served in Iraq or you put a very specific location and you mark it no, can it say like, oh, by the way, you actually did serve in the area?
So what it will do is if you put the area, it won't know because it's not downloading your medical records or your DD-214. Now you could upload your DD-214 into this, and I'll show you where. But the reason why it's asking you for locations is because this is actually trained on presumptive conditions and the PAC Act. And so because I served in Iraq, what we'll be able to see is that it actually will pull up that maybe I have PTSD. Now, I'm not going to claim it in this one, but it'll actually pull up the presumptive ones. Now, if I were to click this button, maybe I'm, having some respiratory things. This will actually scan for the PAC Act to see if I could be covered under, the burn pits or additional toxic exposures.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so here, let's just say in this example, we have tinnitus. And, it's the ringing in the ears. And then for my new symptom, now this would be where you put any new or worsening symptoms. But let's just say for this one, I'm starting to get migraines. And typically what happens is when my ears ring, the migraines start. And you can see I'm putting very basic, but a lot of veterans, they get even more detailed reports because they actually put a large amount of data in here. And so, this is going to ask, are you diagnosed? Are you not? That's part of how it tells how strong your claim is. And then if you're, if you visited any VA medical centers, so you can actually add them in there, and then it'll start to analyze that as well. And so, am I currently employed? So this looks at the CFR that says that in order for some disabilities, you're going to need to show that you have a work impact or a life impact. And so do I have any dependents? This is where this is actually going to calculate, some of the dependent items. And for this, I'll just put hearing loss or tinnitus. You could add additional items that you're diagnosed for. And then any other additional, comments or information. So let's say you were denied before, or any of those things. You could also upload your DD-214 or upload some medical, examples or medical documentation. And then what we're going to do is we're going to generate the report. And so what this is doing is it's sending it to a few different AI agents that are actually treating this as a VA rater. And so we've built the system to actually rate the claim like a VA rater, a conservative VA rater at that. And then typically what will happen, and it gave me an error, so let me run this one more time. And I'm just going to run through it really quick.
Sometimes it happens, and that's okay.
Yeah. Well, and if it happens, all anybody has to do is just literally go through and put it back in.
Does it save your data when you exit out of the application?
So it doesn't, and it saves it in a database so that you do have record of it if you ever needed it. But it also will blank this out, and it'll make you basically restart again because what it does is it sanitizes the data so no one else can come in and get any of your information. And so it's another way for us to protect the veteran.
To protect ourselves.
Yep, that's it. Well, and the nice thing is, this platform is built by veterans for veterans, so it's all about protecting the veteran too.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know data privacy is a very big thing for a lot of veterans, and you would assume that somebody that has this level of information would be selling your information, right?
Yep.
And that's the key.
Yeah, and then we don't ever give it to anybody. And so here, here's what the report will look like. And like I said, if something happens in an error, is sometimes when it goes back and forth, that will happen. And I'll tip a hat of why. We have a protection in the system that if it determines that it's a hallucination, because AI models do hallucinate, which means they make up information or it may be incorrect. And so we have protections to where when the AI detects, because there's a verification system in the background with the agents, if it detects anything that could be a hallucination, you may get an error and then just go back in and regenerate the report. And so it's protecting, again, the veteran from any kind of incorrect or information that's not what it should be.
Wow.
So in this, you can see, and this again is a report that you could easily download and give to your VSO. And so in the report, it talks about who I am in the executive summary. It talks about my service history. It also talks about if there's any presumptive conditions. Now, when I refilled this out, I didn't put that I had served in Iraq, but it actually scans the CFR for presumptive conditions. It pulls up my medical summary. It also pulls up if I've had any kind of Nexus letter or a DBQ that I uploaded or any kind of personal statements. I would want to upload that in here when I filled out the report. It talks about my potential functional impact. And so, migraines may impact work performance as a manager. That's important because when I'm writing my personal statements, I really want to highlight that. So then this is another really amazing feature is it pulls the exact diagnostic code. It pulls the CFR reference for the veteran, and then it pulls the rating table that it thinks you should get. And so in this example, it knows that I have 10% for tinnitus, but it's pulled migraines and said that based on what I put, I should get a 50% for very frequently, completely prostrating, prolonging attacks. And so based on the information I put, it thinks that I should be eligible for a 50%. And so then it goes into the gaps and weaknesses. Well, I didn't upload any medical records or treatment history, and I don't have a Nexus letter or a DBQ. So then it tells you exactly what to do to fix your claim. And so I need to get medical records for my documenting the treatment of my migraines. I need to request a DBQ for migraines So I could get my own DBQ, or when I go to my C&P exam, that would be sufficient enough. And then I need to consider lay statements or these buddy statements, which we're going to do them. We're going to do that today. Additionally, it'll tell you potential secondary claims. So particularly, I only put a very rudimentary example in, but if somebody had maybe multiple ones where they had a left knee problem, a back problem, this would pull up, okay, you're already covered for your left knee, but a potential secondary claim may be your right knee because you're overcompensating your left. And so this will pull up any additional claims, which really helps veterans get the max amount that they're due. And then this is kind of the part you want to look the most at, is the likelihood score. So right now, with the example that I have, I'm at a 6 out of 10. I should not submit this. And so it'll tell you recommend revising and resubmitting with additional evidence. What I should do is, if I'm an 8, 9, or 10, I'm good to submit. Wow. If I'm less than an 8, then I need to go back and I really need to focus on these recommendations, do these things, then come back to the claim optimizer with those things in there. And typically what happens is you get rated an 8, 9, or 10. That means you're ready to submit your claim.
Well, that's pretty powerful stuff right there. Yeah, I'll switch it back to our regular view here. But yeah, no, Paul, I appreciate that. Yeah, that's a lot of information. And just, for someone that's, I know when I was going through mine, I didn't even have a clue what to do through that process. And this would have been a significant help. And I still talk to people right now, Paul, every day that are just like, hey, yeah, I was thinking about it. I didn't know. And I just talked to someone today. They got out like 16 years ago. They got awarded 70. And then someone was just talking to them, and then they finally submitted it, and then boom, they're at 100, just because you don't know, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the problem with the veterans, or just in general. I think people are like, well, maybe I didn't deserve it, or I'm taking it away from somebody else. You're not. In fact, if you don't apply for it, they actually cut the budget smaller. So you don't want that to happen. And VA disability process, typically, from what I've seen, Paul, seems to get worse over time, where like VA home loans get better because they keep updating the criteria. So, but cool. Yeah, let's, so we're going to go back into the presentation here so you can kind of see the Nexus letter piece to it. So let's roll into it.
Okay, so the Nexus letter, and again, one of the feedback from our veteran users was it was hard to determine when you were ready to file the report. And so everything is banked off of that claim optimization report, which is why we drive you there first. Once we have that information and it's went in and analyzed all of your information, in the background, it's saved it. So then what you're able to do is you're able to go to the rest of the tools, and just with a click of a button, you can actually generate the reports and the letters. And so, up at the top where it says ready to generate, if you haven't done the claim optimizer, it will not let you click the button. And so that was a really great improvement that we did, where now it kind of error proofs the whole flow and stuff. And so it's generated our Nexus letter, which we're able to download. But this letter is regarding, and I put John Doe's newly claimed condition of migraines and its potential connection. And so what we've actually done is we went out and we connected with lawyers, doctors, and even some VA doctors that have helped us. And so we wrote this letter so that a doctor feels good about signing it, and it checks all the boxes that the doctors were looking for. It also checks all the boxes that the lawyers were looking for. And so some of the wording in here will actually be written specifically for that. And so it goes into the introduction, the medical opinion. And so you can see the wording is actually how the CFR requires it to be: exacerbated. You'll see the stress, noise, environmental condition. Then it talks about the rationale. And so the connection between tinnitus and migraines is well documented. And now it even gives a journal study where there's a significant overlap in the neural mechanisms that trigger both conditions. And so the cool thing, and I'll show you at the end, is the actual APA cites that. And so it also gives the title, the CFR title. And so that way the rater has the CFR requirement and a medical journal or study. And then here's the beauty part of the wording as well. It's more likely than not. So all that veterans need is a 51%. Now, what happens is a lot of times doctors feel like they have to write, it is definitely connected to service. And so what doctor in the world can say without 100% certainty that something is connected? They can't, because it could be something else.
They're like politicians, Paul, like politicians.
Yeah, that's it. But doctors are only required, and by law, we're only required that it has to be 51%. And so by doing this, and then if you say it's more likely than not that John Doe's migraines are directly related to a service, the medical evidence and rationale presented support this causality. So this right here says, I have the veteran in front of me, and that's the medical evidence. And then the rationale, which is actually cited right down here. And so that rationale and the medical evidence with the veteran are the reason why I made that decision. And so right away, we are protecting the doctors, and we're also giving the veterans the exact wording that they need. And so this is a draft letter. What I typically tell veterans to do, and what we have on our platform, is they'll copy and paste this in a Word doc, and then they'll go take it to their doctor. And some doctors, they want to mess with the wording a little bit. Some doctors are fine just signing it the way it is, but it depends on how your doctor is. And we haven't, knock on wood, we haven't had a doctor not sign it yet. And so some of them had said, hey, I want to reword this section, or I want to add this additional, references or whatever. But this gives them everything they need. And most veterans are paying hundreds, if not thousands of dollars for this letter. And, and they don't have to, they really don't have to.
Yeah. And I'll tell you this, and I'll kind of pop out of the website for a second. So I'll tell you guys that, it's definitely easier if you could put all your information in for that letter to be generated. That's number one. And number two, doctors are people. Okay. And if you can cut down on their time to say, here is the letter, then they're going to read through it. And that wasn't like a 4-hour read, Paul, right? It was like a minute to be like, oh, okay, this makes sense. And then, why would they be opposed to it too? Because they don't want to lose a client, which is you either, right? So otherwise you'll find a different provider that can sign it, right? So that's kind of the piece. And if you have existing insurance that covers it, hopefully, right? You're just going in for a regular exam.
Yeah,
so,
normally it's a $20 copay.
Yeah, $20 copay, right? So that's not bad. So, all right, good. Well, let's go into the last piece, which is the personal statement.
Yeah. And
so you're generating that right now.
Yeah, I'm generating it right now. Same kind of screen, same kind of thing, where if it doesn't see your claim optimizer, it won't say ready to generate here. And then so I clicked the button, I generated it. And so what this does is this writes a personal statement, which a personal statement is so important for most veterans. And so I hear veterans all the time say, I don't have my medical records, right? And I'll say, okay, well, what's your pain or whatever? And they'll say, my back hurts. And then I'll say, okay, what'd you do for an MOS or a job? And they'll say, oh, I was jumping out of airplanes. I'm like, oh, well, no wonder your back's hurting, right? And so especially with veterans, maybe our age, David, or even older, it was frowned upon to go to medical. You just didn't. Right? I mean, you sucked it up, you rubbed dirt in it, you called it a day, you kept going. And so these veterans now are like, most of them don't file because they're like, I don't have anything in my medical records, and my back didn't hurt for years after. And so the personal statement is key to really proving what you're feeling, what you're going through. and really putting that all into a statement. But most veterans don't write like the CFR. And so they'll say, I have a couple headaches a week, which gets them 0. But if they were to say I have incapacitating headaches that impact my work or life, and they're prostrating, and all these buzzwords that the CFR requires or they're going to want to see, then that will actually get you a rating. And so it's really important. So these personal statements, they write it and they basically announce who you are in the first thing and what you have going on. And then it talks about, living with tinnitus. The constant ringing in my ears makes it difficult, especially in quiet settings. And so it's setting the tone because my migraines were tied to my tinnitus. So if I don't talk about my tinnitus, I am not doing the link, the nexus. I'm not reinforcing that they're connected. And so that's why what this will do with connected disabilities is this will either talk about your MOS and your job and your military service and how it connects to your disability, or like this one's doing, connect a disability to a disability, because migraines is secondary to tinnitus in this case. And so it talks about, I've recently been diagnosed with migraines, which have become increasingly debilitating. That's almost exactly out of the CFR. And these headaches can last for hours, coupled with nausea, sensitivity, light, and sound, almost verbatim out of CFR. This has led to increased absenteeism at work. And so one of the conditions for a 50% rating is operational incapacity. So the me being incapacitated to work. And so again, this is what it's doing. It's building that case. And then it's talking about that I have an emotional impact as well. And so I brought up about what I had done, what my job was, that I had a family. And so, at the end, it says I'm actively working for treatment. And then I can either print this or I can copy and paste it. And so what we have a lot of veterans do is they'll actually copy and paste this, and then they'll have the person's wife write a statement, wife or husband write a statement that is very similar to this, again, proving the case. And so the VA does a really nice job of giving the benefit of the doubt to the veteran. I've seen that actually pretty successful with all of our veterans, because they build the case. I mean, we've even had veterans have their child, their small child, write a personal statement with Crown.
Wow.
And so one thing your veterans need to do, I got one of my claims denied before I built this platform, because I didn't put my personal statement on a 4138 Bravo form. And so you'll notice up here at the top, you have to put it in a VA form 21-4138. If you don't, they are not required to admit it as evidence.
Wow. That is so wild. Yeah, if it's like just missing that one form, or same thing with like your property taxes for your VA disability, if you meet the requirement, is that if you missed a deadline, now all of a sudden they assess taxes, and if you don't have the money, the mortgage company needs the money, and all of a sudden you're late and going into foreclosure. I've seen it so many times. Attention to detail. So, I mean, those are three big things that we went over today. So we went over the claim optimizer, the Nexus letter, and the personal statement. Now, Paul, I know, even me, when I went through it, if you do simple things, it comes back still with amazing things. But the more time you spend, I would say, and more detailed you put in, the better the letter's going to come out, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then you have all the documentation that you can then go and fight to be able to, win your case. And one of the big things too, Paul, is that a lot of companies focus on veterans that have a disability or rating so they can get them increase. This is where it's nice, where you have this tool. It could be a supplemental tool to, like, hey, working with the VSO or anybody else, because you sometimes want to get a second opinion, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh,
there's most of the organizations we're partnered with, the
Uh-huh.
VSOs are seeing a 75% reduction in workload. And so they're
Wow.
able to see 10 times the amount of veterans, because imagine just with the 3 tools we use today, David,
Yep.
Imagine going to a VSO with the entire breakdown of what your disability is, how to file it, any secondaries. You got a Nexus letter that you'll get signed by your doctor. You got a personal statement. And all that VSO literally has to do is take those forms and submit your claim. They don't even barely have to talk to you. They got all the information they need to submit the claim right there. And actually, VSOs are starting to do virtual appointments now. And so they're really going to speed and efficiency in the organizations that we've partnered with. They're using Vet Mentor AI, the veteran organizations are, almost as a pre-qualifying tool so that the veteran can ask these questions, find out if their claim's even good enough, and then start to get the documentation. I mean, we have tools, other ones that we'll cover in subsequent videos, where we actually tell the veteran exactly what to write when they're filing their claim, like down to the word, how they should file secondary versus primary. It has simplified the entire process so that a veteran with limited technological skills could come on and do their entire claim. And if they want to use a VSO, that's perfect. But let's make the VSOs so efficient that they can go see 10 times the amount of veterans.
Yeah, and one of the big advantages of using a VSO is they actually can see like where you're at, like the real status of your application. And Paul, you made a comment where you said it tells you exactly what you need to put in there, and why that's such a home run point is that when you go through the process of your VA disability, you sometimes may not know how to articulate your problems. Okay. And this is especially true for veterans. They're like, I'm all good, nothing's wrong with me. And then you start digging down through, like, hey, these are my symptoms, my condition, like what's happening with me. You just got to be honest with yourself. Because again, the more information you put in, the better the output is. Okay. So input's critical. So take time and put that in so you can get that. So for everyone out there, please make sure you guys check out vetmentorai.com so then you can actually see what options you have. Paul, I appreciate you coming on again. We'll be doing plenty of videos, and yeah, definitely would love to do a live event soon with you. And we'll catch you guys on the next video as well.